As we end the week, there was something extremely interesting that happened this week, actually on Tuesday the 6th, which most people seems to have missed. And yet, it was terribly interesting. It was terribly important. The Director of Public Prosecution, Bwana Noordin Haji, and the Director of Criminal Investigations, Bwana George Kinoti, were in the United Kingdom. And the reason why most people missed the significance of this trip was because they were there on the surface, if you looked at it on the surface, for a very boring meeting. They were there for counterterrorism and serious organized crime cooperation between Kenya and the United Kingdom. Yeah, I know. You know these titles, long-winded titles. They're always very boring. And if you add the names of the organizations which were roped into this meeting, it gets even more boring. They met with the National Crime Agency, big yawn. They met with the Met Police Counterterrorism Command. Gosh, people still use the word command. Very traditional, the British. Even more boring. The Crown Protection Service, what does that even mean? And the Foreign Commonwealth Office. Now, before you go off to sleep, let me quickly bring you up to speed and tell you why this meeting was very, very important and will, without doubt, yield some very interesting, exciting results. Now, the exciting part is that one of the reasons for this conference was for Kenya to take advantage of the new legislation in the UK, which is known as the Unexplained Wealth Legislation, which allows, as the name of the legislation suggests, which allows the United Kingdom to quickly freeze and allow a country to recover unexplained wealth stacked up in the country. Now, conservative estimates puts this amount at billions of pounds. Now, let me slow down a bit because I suspect I've lost some of you already. Now, let me start at the beginning. On this channel, we have always talked about old corruption money and new corruption money. Now, when corruption was brand new in Kenya and growing at a very rapid rate, this was mostly in the early 70s, and I believe older Kenyans will remember this. People used to talk about shopping in London. Now, in those days, we used to have something called exchange control. That meant you couldn't just get foreign currency out of the country just like that, as easily as you can these days. There was a very cumbersome procedure where you'd have to get the Central Bank of Kenya to approve every single transaction. Yes, you have the money, it's all in your bank account, and you want to import this car from Japan or from wherever, But the big headache was getting this central bank approval, so that they approve for you to change your Kenya shillings to US dollars. It was a very cumbersome procedure. And if you went out of the country, you were very limited to the amount of money you could carry out. In fact, it was written, noted down on your passport. But still, people are talking about shopping in London. And shopping in London has never been cheap, even in those days. So how did they pull it off? Well, I'm sure you can already guess. They had accounts outside the country, which was of course very illegal, which of course meant only the very powerful, the high up, top notch, most powerful people in Kenya could play this game. What this means is that the money that Bwana Noordin Haji and Bwana George Kinoti are going after, is the cash stashed abroad, stashed in the United Kingdom by the most powerful, oldest, most respected families in Kenya. Folks, that's the bulk of this money. Now, there's something else interesting which has happened. Now, I've just told you how difficult it was to move money out of Kenya. However, outside Kenya, it was very easy to move large sums of money all over the place. But over the years, the laws have tightened, because of money laundering concerns, because governments have realized that if you want to catch big criminals, you just follow the money. So laws all over the world, on transacting huge sums of money have gradually tightened. The result, and this is very interesting, is that a lot of that huge sums of money in places like the United Kingdom is basically stuck. The owners of that money cannot get it out of the United Kingdom even if they wanted to. The important point to note here is that most of those big important Kenyan families are not going to be hurt so much by this money being recovered because anyway they cannot access it. However, the fact that Kenya's Director of Public Prosecutions was at this meeting and Kenya's Director of Criminal Investigations was also at this meeting can only mean one thing. It means that investigations are going to be carried out to find out the owners of this money. That's where Bwana George Kinoti comes in. And then once investigations are complete, those people are going to be prosecuted. And this is where Bwana Noordin Haji comes in. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. To me, that sounds like a pipe dream. Recovering the billions and repatriating them back to Kenya, where the country badly needs this money, that'll be the easy part. That's okay. But investigating and prosecuting the owners of this money? Now, I need to put this delicately, because this is very, very sensitive. Arresting and prosecuting the owners of that money would mean arresting and prosecuting some of the most important people in the Republic of Kenya. Most important and most powerful. Really, people who are untouchable. Well, admittedly, most of these people are no longer alive. Only their families are still around. Otherwise, most of them are dead. I can count at least 9 or 10 individuals who are still alive. Elderly, but still alive. And so, I just wanted to give you a heads up, so that you're alert and you follow up on this because it should yield some very interesting results. Because the immediate question that comes to my mind is, will they name the dead person who was the owner of the money they have recovered? Or will they just say we have not been able to trace, although they already know, we've not been able to trace the owner of the money, but we have recovered so much billions, which has come back into the country. Very interesting. Let's wait and see what happens. Now, this is an excellent opportunity, to take a deeper look, at the two individuals right at the center of this thing, the public servants, Bwana Noordin Haji and Bwana George Kinoti. Because most of us are not familiar with their very, very interesting past and their backgrounds which they have brought to this job. Both these two Kenyans have been hailed as doing an excellent job, and indeed they have done a lot of things their predecessors never did in the same offices. In fact, let me just put it bluntly. So far, they have shocked Kenyans. They have gone to lengths. For instance, Bwana Noordin Haji has prosecuted people who just a few months ago we would never imagine would be prosecuted. That we have to give to them. Well, we have not yet gotten successful convictions yet, but at least we must acknowledge how far he has gone. He has done things which have never been done before. To be fair also to Bwana Kinoti, he has investigated and turned stones which previously were just too heavy to turn. Now, I must tell you in advance, this is going to be very fascinating. You're going to hear things I'm sure you never knew. At least most of you never knew. Let's start with Bwana Noordin Haji. Noordin is the son of Yusuf Haji, a long-serving provincial commissioner in Kenya under the Moi regime. He also served as defense minister under Kibaki. Now, those two dockets already tell you something. you have to be extremely trusted to be able to serve in those dockets. Provincial Commissioner was the center of intelligence in the old provinces. Yeah, everything revolved around them. Minister of Defense, you know how sensitive that is. The long and short of it all is that Bwana Haji, Yusuf Haji, father to Noordin Haji, carries some very delicate, important secrets of the government of Kenya. That is probably why we should not be surprised that when Noordin Haji graduated from the Wales College, Cardiff, with a law degree, he had absolutely no problem going through all the background checks to be appointed graduate trainee for the National Intelligence Service. Yes, that's where Noordin Haji started. And Noordin Haji climbed through the ranks to become head of the Economic Crimes Unit of the National Intelligence Service. And that's where he was plucked from to become the Director of Public Prosecution. But in September 2013, Noordin Haji almost lost his life. Now we all know the big event that took place in Kenya on September 2013, the terrorist attack on Westgate. When the Al-Shabaab terrorists hit the shopping mall, Noordin Haji was trapped inside. And in all the chaos, he managed to place a call to his brother, Abdul Haji. And Abdul Haji said later that the call sounded like a goodbye call. Noordin sounded like he was not sure. He was doubtful rather that he would get out of this alive. Abdul was also very worried because Noordin's cover had been blown. On a certain local television station, it had been revealed that Noordin was in fact an undercover National Intelligence Service agent. And he had started receiving death threats from the Al-Shabaab terror group. So when Abdul received this call from his brother, he was very worried for his brother's life. And in fact, at that time, he was at the Yaya Center, and he drove at breakneck speed towards Westgate. Well, you know the rest of the story. Abdul managed to rescue his brother, and in the process, he also rescued quite a lot of other people from the Westgate. Including a woman and her kids who was just inches, yards, a very short distance away from the terrorists. Now, very fascinating, the fact that Noordin was head of the Economic Crimes Unit at the NIS means that he already has a very good idea of who the money belongs to, the money in the UK that they're going to repatriate. Even before the investigation starts, he's already in a very good position to know exactly who the money belongs to, what each and every account, who it may belong to. On to George Kinoti, who has an even more interesting background. Now, this is a man who fought right from the trenches and fought his way right to the top. And he first made his name in the police force battling highway robbers in places like Isbania, Migori, Busia, and Kisumu. He was right in the middle of the action. And his good work attracted the attention of the then CID, Criminal Investigations Department, and he was brought to Nairobi to become the personal assistant of the then director of the CID, Bwana Joseph Kamau. But Bwana Kinoti became even more famous in 2004. There was an author, a very famous Kenyan author, called Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who visited the country for the first time in many years because he had gone into exile during the reign of President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. He had fled to the US. But in 2004, after many decades, Ngugi wa Thiong'o came back into the country. And he came back into the country with his wife, Jerry. But something very terrible happened to them. They were staying at the Norfolk apartments. And on the night of August 11th, waking up to the morning of 12th August 2004, they were attacked and robbed of cash, a laptop, and gold rings. And his wife was even sexually assaulted. George Kinoti led the team that cracked the case and arrested 3 people who were successfully prosecuted and sentenced to hang in 2006. However, before these three people were convicted, in 2005, Bwana Kinoti was involved in another shootout with thugs. It is said that he was going home and he walked right into the middle of an attempted carjacking, and he was shot. He was very badly shot by thugs who left him bleeding, and he was rushed to hospital, and people were not even sure if he was going to survive, but somehow he recovered. But to date, Bwana Kinoti still has metal plates in his legs. His legs were very badly shattered by the bullets. Actually, whatever you say about Bwana Kinoti, he's a real fighter, because there's also the incident many Kenyans remember with the then Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Hussein Ali. Kinoti had a run-in with him, and the Commissioner of Police transferred him back to Migori. Bwana Kinoti refused to take the transfer and instead handed in his resignation letter. Of course, this is unprecedented. That has never happened in the police, even to this date. And not only did he hand in his resignation letter, he attached a check to it. To terminate your employment, you have to give notice, or you have to give up your salary. So I guess that's what the check was about. The whole drama attracted public interest, and in the end, under pressure, he was reappointed. He was brought back to Nairobi and appointed to police headquarters, where he became the national police spokesman. And that is the post he held until his recent appointment in January this year to the post of Director of Criminal Investigations. That's the story of the two guys who have now been tasked with the task of turning stones that many believed were too heavy to ever be turned, ever. Very, very fascinating. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha. Cartels in Kenya are so powerful. It is impossible for the government of Kenya to bring them down. And that is why the latest moves by the DEA in the United States is causing quite a lot of jitters back home here in Kenya. They were not, under any circumstances, going to lose their grip, their grip on power. But there's something else the cartels had started doing way back in 2007. They started fielding candidates in very prominent, powerful political positions so that their influence would remain guaranteed. And we're going to name those individuals shortly.